All right, welcome back, everybody, from the big vacation. This is the first, recording of Spilling the Tea in Studio D that we've done since we've been back from the holiday break. But really hadn't been a break for much of the folks out in education land. Man, this is going to be a fun one today. I'm excited about the guests we have. We've got Deputy Superintendent and Athletic Director. I guess that's Activities Director. What is that? What it said?
Activities.
Bro, you got principal on your name tag. Man, what is up with that?
Did you not even get him a new name tag?
Excuse me.
He's got to earn that.
Okay. Yeah.
Times are hard.
I got you. I started saying, you ain't going to throw the change on the new name tag till he earns it. I got you. I don't blame you.
I'll go ahead and take it off.
Okay. So he is.
Hey, we'll let you be principal today. It's okay.
Director of Activities. Is that what we're calling it these days?
Yeah, we'll call it
okay.
that, yes.
All right. So Darin Landry, both guys from Lakeside. See, these guys love me, Candace. They came out and gave me some swag.
Oh, whatever.
and
You got up out of your closet.
So, but what I would say to that is, you worked at Lakeside and they didn't bring you boo. So
well, they didn't bring you anything either.
yes, they did. Hey, that's all I'm saying.
It's very hurtful that Candace wouldn't represent.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah. I'm sad if they didn't bring me something and they brought you something.
See, again, it's all about you. You're in
know.
here, with
I
your own stuff.
am representing Studio D.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the direction and the memo I was given.
Okay. Yeah, you know me. If anybody knows me, there's one thing I don't do. That's memos, for sure. Okay. So anyway, we'll get started. So today we're just going to, one of the things I do want to get started with is basically have the two of y'all kind of start out by telling us kind of your path to where you got, if you don't mind, educationally speaking. And so, Bruce, why don't you tell us, we kind of like to dig in, if you don't mind, maybe why education, and then how you got to where you are today. Let's try it that way.
All right. I guess it kind of goes back. I tell this story a lot. Grew up in Bismarck. I was a 13-year Bismarck line. I think looking back, we didn't see just a ton of different professions growing up. I mean, most of the people that I knew growing up were really fit just a few categories. But a lot of the people I was around, they were teachers. My mom was a teacher at Bismarck, and I think starting from somebody who enjoyed athletics, wanted to coach. I remember I told this story just recently. Bismarck, they gave me the opportunity. I coached Pee Wee girls basketball my senior year.
Wow.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
While I was there, and it was like, I could really see myself doing this. So started off, went to Ouachita Baptist University. I know that Mr. Landry will probably talk a little about that, about how he knows that OBU is the superior school, right, Mr. Landry?
No, we're all ready, so just keep on going, Bruce.
Yeah,
you're outnumbered
I'm
today,
willing
buddy.
to.
You are outnumbered.
I'm take it on.
We'll let you talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a minute.
So, about midway through there, I had somebody that was really influential in my life, Ronnie Looper, lifetime friend. He gave me some really good advice about looking as far as my teaching field, and that was the first time, I guess, as just growing up, you're thinking I'm going to coach, and then, he really encouraged me to go and get another teaching field. You'll laugh at this, Candace. You may not know this, but he told me to go get math. He said, you need to go get certified math. And I said, oh, Ronnie, I can't do that. These kids do not need me teaching them math. And he said, well, then you're gonna be a science teacher. Yeah. And I said, well, I can do science. I like science. So I shifted gears there. That made such a difference in my career path as far as everything, as far as getting into leadership. And then after I graduated, he was also the one that right then told me to go back and work on my ed leadership. And so rolled right into grad school. I highly recommend that for anybody who's wanting to go into education. Go ahead, knock out those courses. It just gets harder. I know several of you had to do that, had to go back and take courses, after you got married and kids. It just complicates everything as far as your time. And then, I remember my very first leadership class was Johnny Roebuck at Henderson. And from that point on, I knew that's probably where I was going to be going. And then, went to Hope, worked, taught and coached 3 years down there, loved it, great people, still have a lot of friends down there. 3 years at Lake Hamilton, same way, great experience. And then, man, I tried, a lot of people, I know several people looking, you're looking for jobs, and sometimes you get the door shut on you. Man, I think as far as looking for a leadership job, it was like 9 times I got to know. And man, there was this one guy. He was crazy, about the only guy that would take a shot on me to
What was he thinking?
to give me to give me a shot, and that was Mr. Beck was sitting up there.
Yeah.
And that's a great story. You already tell that a little later on. And so we had we were both very, very young in our career, and Darin was the high school principal, and I was his assistant at Lakeside, and man, we had a great time.
Yep.
It seemed like it was a lot longer than
Right.
just 2 years, but it was a great time, learning experience. Then I've been at Lakeside the rest of the time. High school principal, and moved to central office, and it is. I told somebody the other day, there's no 2 days the same.
Yep.
That's right.
It's been a great ride.
And and that's what I really I think even here at the co-op, same kind of scenario. But that's of course, before getting into education, was in radio. That was the thing that I love about it. And God's really blessed me in that part. They say, if you find the right profession, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's kind of how I feel about it, because it's anything I've ever done. I took a quick hiatus from radio, between radio and going back to school and coming to education. But outside of that, I mean, never felt like I'm going to work any day because of that very reason. No 2 days are the same. So, but yeah, the good thing about, I think, interviewing you when you came to Lakeside, I'd never been a high school principal. I was coming out of the middle school, and I knew, for me, one of the challenges at that particular point was, they said, hey, we're going to have a culture change. And I said, Sean Cook was superintendent, and I said, okay, no problem. And, Lakeside, very prestigious academically, still was then, is now, that kind of thing. And, but the one part by working there, in the middle school, the greatest thing for me at that point was I had the kids that were high schoolers then in middle school. And I knew for the most part what those kids were all about. And so that was, to me, that was the biggest pull for me to go to high school at that time, and to see if what we instilled in them in middle school would work at the high school level. And in talking to you, you kind of brought that same philosophy about, academics number one for sure, but molding young men and women and going above and beyond whatever it takes to do that. And I'm not going to tell you it wasn't challenging at times, but you were the first person that walked through the door that, within the first 10 minutes talked about that. Everybody else, they got around to getting to that, but I think that's where the connection for me was made, was the fact that, we agreed on that so early. So Landry, after you got out of jail, tell us about how you got into education.
The work release program.
Yeah, work release. After that first furlough.
My path to education and where I'm at now is a little bit different than Bruce. I grew up in Orange, Texas. My dad was youngest of 15. I had tons of first cousins, all uncles and aunts and cousins that went to college. Wasn't education. That's what they were, coaches, teachers. So I was bound and determined to break that mold. So I was fortunate enough to be recruited and played at Henderson State University football. Go Reddies.
Go Reddies.
I never lost the Battle of the Ravine. So
He's never played in it.
played in 4. So I came to Henderson State in a pre-engineering major. Stayed there for about a year and a half, and then decided that things just kept calling me back to be around young people and try to be a role model in front of them. The person that kind of showed me that that way was my uncle. He was the defense coordinator and coach at West Orange Stark, where I graduated from. I just saw how, he had a passion around kids, the kids that needed him. He knew who they were, and he tried to fit that mold for them and try to change their lives, and he changed a lot of young men's lives. And so that kind of is what was in the back of my mind when I switched over to education. And I haven't looked back since. I've enjoyed every minute of it. You know, I was fortunate enough. I've only worked in one school district. This is my 23rd year at Lakeside. My wife and I both worked there for 23 years. This is our 23rd year. We've done our intern there. I taught algebra for 8 years. And then after 8 years, another person gave me a shot at this table when you took when you left Lakeside to be a superintendent. Mr. Orr took the principal's job, and then I was fortunate enough for him to hire me in that role. And I was his assistant for 6 years. Then when he moved to central office, I was fortunate enough, I applied for the principal's job and got that. And I was the principal for Lakeside for 8 years. And then I was fortunate enough to be moved to central office over facilities and activities. So.
Yes, and I was blessed enough to work with old Landry over there. He got all his math teaching skills from
That's
me.
right. That's right.
Well, and as the story goes, she talks about how she pranked you all the time. Any truth to that rumor?
Yes.
You
there's
cannot
truth.
deny that.
There is truth. But she had buddies that would come in there and put things on my computer because I'm a big Longhorn fan.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and her little buddy, Miss Stacy Newell, put some kind of program on my computer while I was
No. The kids. The kids.
Well, now let's hear the real
Let's
story.
rewind. Let's rewind because I had to tell myself when I was driving the bus and I was pregnant and I had a couple of mishaps, and Landry proceeded to draw pictures on my bulletin board when I'm coming in with smashed tailpipes and crashed up buses, and the kids are all like getting a kick out of it. And I said, I got to get him back. And those boys, they were like, hey, we're watching tape in 8th period today in Coach Landry's room. And some of the kids said, you got any cheer tapes? I said, yes, because I was coaching cheerleaders at the time. So I said, okay, we can do this. I was like, everybody keep your mouth shut. Do not tell anybody. And they were like, okay. So we switched the tapes. And then I got the cheerleaders, and the boys all knew about it. So he's all getting ready. Okay, watch this play, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Puts the tape in, and cheerleaders on the screen. And then I'm outside with the cheerleaders, and they're doing their chant, don't mess with Miss Bennett. The boys, they loved it.
Yes.
They loved it.
That I remember that.
Yeah, that
of course. I don't remember the first part, making fun of
Yeah,
you. But
of course. Of course.
And then another issue, they came and put a program on my computer because I'm a big Longhorn fan.
Right.
So every time I touched a button on my computer, if I logged in, it started playing Arkansas Fight Song with the max volume.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we were kind of mean. I mean, like yours and Kalahicki's, I changed the pen colors to white, and they thought their smart boards were broken. It was hysterical. Hey, but we worked really hard.
Yes, we did.
And
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, my test scores would prove it.
Hey, maybe
okay?
that's why we had such a hard time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kids didn't learn anything.
I started to say that's what we had to overcome the first year there. Yeah, exactly. Well, Landry and his wife Nikki, both Lakeside lifers. I mean, that's something you don't really hear of. I mean, that myself, I guess 1, 2, 3 districts. And it's kind of cool for me because my wife, and I, we live in Jessville. That's where I got my start. She went to Jessville. Lakeside, had a couple of ties there. And then Fountain Lake, I like to tell this story, but that's where my dad went and graduated. Opportunity came up to be superintendent there. And, little rough patch. And, and the board was very upfront about the situation there. And I go to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, what do you think? And I said, looks like it's going to happen. And I said, any words of wisdom? He said, well, I graduated from there. He said, my picture's on the wall in the auditorium and all that. And I said, yeah. He said, well, don't screw it up. That's what I said. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, my gosh.
But so, I mean, to stay in one district your entire career, man, that's something.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Because I was in like 5.
Yeah.
But it's helped me in this spot.
We can't get rid
I
of
was
him.
about
We
to
don't
say,
know what to
I don't know if it's a good thing. They can't get rid of it.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
So what you're saying is he still hadn't paid off those lunch charges.
We're not going to forward his record zone anywhere until that's been cleared up.
I got you.
Oh, man.
gotcha.
Listen, these two guys
Yeah.
were so awesome. When I made that switch, I was at Lakeside for 12 years, and they were my family. And I remember turning in my resignation, and Bruce just gave me a hug, and I'm just crying. And he's like, "You got this. It's gonna be fine," you know. And I just having people like that give you that push, and God has a plan, and it all worked out. And I have all this experience. It's helping me in this role, so it's been great. It was hard to leave though, because man, we had so many good times.
Yes, we did.
Well, and that's the thing. Even this little group here at the table is, that as we've all gone our separate ways, but not really. I mean, it's really, you really can't put into words the ability to be able to pick up the phone,
Right.
when somebody needs this or that, and say, hey, I've got the perfect person for that job, or can you help me with this, or can you help me with that? And that's what I take away from all that. I think Sean Cook's been in all of our lives. Sean taking a chance on all of us, and that's kind of a funny story too. The first day that we were at the high school, and we were having these I guess the back to school party with the staff. And Bruce is sitting there, and I didn't even really let him in on it too much, but I always knew, because I'd been there at the middle school, and these things were so stuffy. I mean, everybody sat around with their suit and their ties.
I remember this.
Eating breakfast, and I told Bruce, I said, just go drop this CD in when it's my turn to talk about high school. He looked at me and said, don't ask questions. So he said, okay. And so anyway, he drops it in there, and Sean Cook, he's superintendent. He's looking at Bruce like, what?
Everybody was looking at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was trying to hide behind a pole, but was trying to.
Yeah. And so we dropped in Fantastic Voyage. And,
I remember
and
this.
I mean, and the custodians in the back, man, they were loving it. So I'm back there high-fiving them, and I mean, it was great, And of course, I was huffing and puffing. I was so out of breath by the time I got up there. But that I mean, to me, that kind of set the tone, for us, and to let them know. I mean, seriously, as serious as Lakeside is academically, you can't take yourself too serious, because, 2 days into high school, things happen, and some of them are serious. But at the end of the day, as a lot of people will tell you, it's not life-threatening stuff the majority of the time. I'll say that. So.
The power of laughter.
The power, yeah,
Man.
Smiles.
Golly, you gotta have fun.
And you bring that up, so let's talk about that. I mean, with COVID going on, it's been so tough for everybody. I mean, obviously we're not in the daily grind, so to speak, but behind the scenes and watching how the different schools have handled that. Talk to us a little bit about. Maybe some of the things that you guys have encountered and how you've handled it.
Man, that's a loaded question. It's definitely the school business, and really trying to be everything for your kids and your staff and everything. That's very challenging, daunting just in itself. But when you get in one of the little eras like we're in right now with getting enough people to be able to come, and we're struggling with not only staff and students with COVID, but then you've got just a whole other wave of people taking care of their kids, and the fear. It's definitely no doubt about it, the biggest challenge we've had, I guess, in my 24 years since we've had here. And our philosophy, we've really just tried to, mainly like. Last week we said we're going to keep the doors open. We're going to try to be there. I've always believed very heavily on that 178 student contact days. People hear me reference that all the time.
Right.
I feel like that's our promise to the community. And so we did. We stayed in, and we pulled ranks last week.
Right.
We were covering duties and helping in any way that we could. We were ready to jump back on the bus and drive that if we could. And Friday we were able to. We treated all the staff to catfish and barbecue, and you just saw things like that made a big difference. So we tried to get around and say, "Hey, thank you," and tell some jokes and laugh, and try to remind people that this too shall pass. I mean, this is tough, but and I was really inspired. I've said this several times. I'm never more proud to work where I work. Until there's when it gets bad, when times get bad, that's when you really see your people just pull together, and people who said, "Man, we got to take care of these kids, and we got to take care of each other." you understand people, have certain things, you can't, it's hard to dodge this thing. So people are going to get sick.
Right.
People are going to have sick kids. You just about have to crawl in a hole to avoid it right now. And I don't want our kids or our people, I don't want anybody to have to do that,
Right.
So we're trying to be as safe as we can, but try to keep life going on. And Darin's done a great job. I think we've only had to cancel one ball game, and it's just because we didn't have enough kids.
That's right.
So we've tried to keep that going. That's very important to us, that those kids don't miss out on those opportunities. Because I think we all saw that with our own kids,
Sure.
when all that's going through that, much less our school kids. We've tried to get up every morning and smile and get out there amongst the people and
Yeah, I was
Spread the joy.
I was on a Zoom this morning with another superintendent over in the Conway area, and one of the things that he talked about, he said, a couple of things that had helped them. He said, what they've really had to watch was, the adult population. He said, as long as I have those adults here, and the usable amount, he said I feel good about it, and he said there's been days we've been close, but he said we follow protocol, that kind of stuff. But he said we've really encouraged folks to do what they need to, wear the mask, and distance when they can, and those kinds of things. But he said probably the thing that helped them the most this time around was the 5 days. He said he said the way it worked for him, he said, I know it don't work that way probably for everybody, but it's just been this way for them. But the 5 days, it's like they've cycled in and out. And he said that's been beneficial.
Oh yeah,
for them.
Oh, if it had been 10, we would probably we couldn't have made it.
Yeah,
we got enough. We were getting enough people back as others were leaving for whatever reason.
I'll tell you what I really liked last week was our buildings coming together. We may have one building that has more staff members out. Well, our other buildings are coming together and sharing staff. We're out there. So I mean, it truly was a team effort. Last week.
Yeah. And like you say, that's what you like to see are those folks that step up. When things are down and out. I mean, that really. I mean, you really, like you say, you really see the inner workings of the district and what the people that really are there for the right reasons. I think they really step up and start to shine. Now, Candace, on the other hand, she's in there, she's Googling stuff and making up diseases and saying, oh, man.
You are so full of it.
I will give her credit, though. She is Dawson's Dr. Fauci or whatever. She
hey, I can quick test. Y'all line up. We can do some quick test.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she diagnosed a couple though last week. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Listen, I told Darin, I said it's got to be really bad because even at the peak of the first time, we just really didn't have a lot of employees that were even. Everybody and our people were still going in the schools. We had some that had to get quarantined for close contacts, but this time, I mean, it is hit.
Oh, it's definitely contagious.
Oh,
you don't have to be a great doctor. I mean, you can just about point to anybody and say, "Bet they have COVID."
Yeah.
You're going to be right about 50% of the time.
You can't even now. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't cough. Everybody's gonna stare at me now.
Yeah. Well, and I read the other day somebody made the comment. You're going to be in one of three categories. You've had it, you have it, or you're going to get it, and that's so true. And it's I remember the very first Zoom we had the day we got back from break. Dr. Romero said, "Hey, look, this is so highly transmissible." He said, "Don't be surprised," but he said, "We truly will have days where we're going to see new cases in the tens of thousands, if not 20,000." And, we've seen that just because it is so transmissible. And so hopefully. But the other thing that Candace loves to do is talk about South Africa. That's the thing that drives me completely nuts.
Was it?
Well, it peaked up there, and it's on its way out in South Africa.
Was it South Africa? I
Yeah,
can't
oh,
remember
yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
I just read an article that said it's like 2 weeks. It's going to be really, really bad, and then it'll.
Yeah. So
Listen,
she's
need to get
is
her-
this
well
pick
read.
Is this pick on Candace Day
We need to
or
get
what?
her on the news to start
Hey,
the report.
every day is pick on Candace.
I'm really glad that Landry hasn't had COVID yet because the vaccines have been so hard on him, it knocks him down for 2 or 3
Oh,
days.
wow.
I'm afraid he
Wow.
couldn't make it if he
Oh,
actually
man.
got COVID.
Well, oof,
Hey,
man.
listen, I'm with you. I got sick on
I pushed through. I came to school, but it was rough
Man,
on me.
this is no exaggeration. The first time we got the vaccine, I go home and got on the elliptical. Man, I was like feeling like the $6 million man. I call her. She's like, I'm in the fetal position with 2 blankets on with fever. And I'm like,
Listen,
what?
Michael and I got sick. He and V, we all went at the same
Oh.
time, and we were both sick, and neither one of them got sick.
Man,
I'm like,
I was like, are you kidding? She's like, no, I feel terrible. I was like, oh, my gosh.
It was kinda bad.
Kind of. Okay.
Darren, I've heard those vaccines are tough on lesser men.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up.
maybe,
I've heard
hey,
the same,
hey, maybe
so.
it's tougher on the smarter people.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I'm
Well,
thinking.
that could be it too.
or let's just say what it is, estrogen heavy.
Michael, are you hearing this right now?
So, that's what I'm saying. So, but anyway, well, the other thing, even in, we've all been in it 20-something years now, which it doesn't seem that way, but changes. Just talk about that for a minute. What are some changes you think that you've seen maybe an approach to how we're reaching kids, educating kids, and maybe just kids in general, attitudes. Talk about that for a minute.
Go ahead.
As being in it for 23 years, definitely there have been changes. A lot of people say, well, the kids are different. Well, I mean, kids are kids. They're,
Right.
They're going to be kids, and it's just the avenue on how they learn. Every one of these kids that we have walking these halls, they grew up with an iPad or a cell phone sitting in their hand, and we've just got to find that avenue to get to them where we keep them engaged.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to do is we've got to change with the time, and our teachers are really trying to get into that mode of doing a lot of I would say like videos for our kids to do that they can just kind of demonstrate their knowledge of whatever subject matter it is.
I mean,
Right.
I was talking to my parents. We were, just talking 26 years. And I think just the trauma aspect, I mean, you think we did not have school shootings. We didn't have lockdown drills. We didn't have any of that. And I sound like an old person now, like thinking back. But, I mean, it hasn't been, that long. But it's just like so much trauma and just things that, kids are having to deal with. Teachers,
Absolutely,
administrators.
And I tell you what was just very visible to me is when we come off of the time off where when we shut down schools. Our kids, we had to get them back together and really train them how to communicate with each other face to face and how to deal with situations face to face. And that's, I think that's where we're at. We're having to take them and bring them back to where they were.
I just feel for y'all now because everybody was coming off that. Everybody's saying discipline's just so it's just increased, and then now here this hits again, and it's just like, man, it's got to be tough on everybody.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point with the trauma. It's very few families that haven't had some kind of severe trauma that you can just see that it's so hard on the kids. And several of our employees, our principals, teachers, they pick up on the fact when we're about to go into Christmas break that the kids, they start to get anxious because they know that they're probably not going to have a lot of their needs met. And, big changes. I hear what Darin's saying, and that's definitely, I think the culture of devices and the lack of, I guess, the change that I see that we probably need to try to correct. I feel like we've went way too far in that direction. And I think what kids are really yearning for right now, I think what they're even communicating, they miss us just talking to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like
The love.
they,
Yeah.
and again, COVID has
Right.
made some of that. Some of them don't have the skills to even sit down and have a conversation
Right.
about anything. Candace, you talk about that. I do that all the time. I feel like, as you get, more experienced in your career, you do start to almost, you start to yearn for, like, man, those things that we did way back when, they were
Yeah.
important. I'll give you an example, a story that just really resonated with me. Over the break, I took my 6-year-old son, Henry. Had to get him out of the house. Sarah's doing some rapping, so presents, not not
Rap and singing, right?
not freestyle.
Yeah, no freestyle.
So I take him to Little Rock, which I never go to Little Rock anymore, and I was like, I don't even know what to do with him there. And Dave and Buster's, forgot about never taking him there. Well, $40 worth of tokens, and very first thing he runs to is this big Connect 4 board, and I'm like, why? Where have you played Connect 4 at? And he said, oh, in Miss Godsley's class. And, he said that we sit and we play some of those board games when they're doing their centers, when she's working with a group of kids and he's playing with that. And I'm like, God, that's genius.
Yeah.
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 Because you're having to learn to interact with another person, not playing a video game, but a real person on the other side. Connect 4's got great math skills in it, and just so much of that. And I'm like, man, I'm going to buy Connect 4 board for every classroom,
Right.
And that's those old the games like that. I remember I used to love that game, and I'd play that with my parents. So that's what $7. We got us a Connect 4 board, and we're wearing it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. There was a teacher at Jesseville, that had like a classroom wish list for Christmas for board games. And the community got into that. Of course, they got the village and retired teachers, retired community. They saw that, and I mean, it was one teacher in the elementary. And by the time it was all said and done, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the entire elementary that they stocked up on that stuff. And I was thinking the same thing, man. That's awesome, because those kids are going to have to look each other in the eye in order to play those games, and that is so something that we've gotten away from. And but to your point, as they get older, I mean, I can remember in the high school when we had to be the cell phone police, and you spent half your day doing that, and finally, I guess the light bulb went on, and somebody said, we're wasting so much time when we can incorporate these phones, and so. That's the thing. You've got to be innovative with it, within reason, obviously. But, I don't know. Down the road, it's going to be, by the time your 6-year-old gets to be 16, 17, there's no telling. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I think about, me growing up, us, because we student taught at the same time.
Even though you're like 10 years older than me.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Late bloomer, Darin, aren't you?
Okay, double chin there, Candace. But like on the Jetsons, they used to have those like you could talk to somebody. That was so far out there. They had those the TV or the telephones that you could see somebody. Like we're Zooming today. That was on a cartoon. You're like, yeah, that'll never happen, and that's everyday life for us. Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy to think. What's going to be out there for Henry when he hits that? Yeah. So, but it's.
I just hope I'm around to see it. Yeah. I'll be so old then. It'll be 50-50 at best.
Well, maybe he'll have something invented by then to tote you around.
Yeah.
Freeze me for a while.
Yeah. Well, athletically speaking, I mean, it's taken a little bit of a toll. I know, COVID has, and that's the other part that I think, that I was beginning to see that was really getting people back out, and the normalcy piece, if you will, was given an opportunity, not only just athletics but activities in general. I mean, so I hate to see that slow down again.
Yeah, I mean that's something we've had to cancel one game because of our numbers. But other than that, we've been full go. Our kids are competing, and what's great to see is you go in our gym and a basketball, and we have people conversating with each other, and then, and I mean, we have kids coming back out in the student section. So I mean, that's things that kids remember of high school. That's it's coming back.
And so do principals about student sections.
Yes, those are always fun.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of athletics, too, I read in the paper the other day, you guys won the bid for state baseball and softball.
Yes.
I haven't. Have y'all been out and looked at Majestic Park? I haven't
Oh,
been out
man.
there yet.
Yes, it is. It
Yeah.
is.
Blow
It
your
is
mind.
really
Wow.
nice
Wow.
out there. Yes, we're excited to host that.
So,
They-
how many fields they got out there?
They have 5 fields, 4 smaller fields that will double as baseball and softball, and then we have the large field. They have a large field for baseball. The GAC tournament's going to be played there at Majestic this year too.
Oh wow.
So that's going to be great.
Yeah. Somebody told me. I think like in February, there's going to be some GAC teams kicking off Majestic Park out there.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can remember growing up playing ball out there. That was. I guess it was JC Park, but it was. I can't remember the age group that played in there, but it was. I mean, it was a big deal back then. And every year, the firemen and policemen played each other. You know, my dad was a fireman, retired. You know, but one year it was the night before we were going on vacation, and the mayor stepped up and said, "I got $100 bill for the first person to hit a home run." And man, Dad launched one. Man, we thought, all right, $100. So yeah, brings back lots of memories. Didn't know the old man had it in him. So. But anyway, you know that's the other thing. The thing that I like, you know, about the Hot Springs area, obviously, guys work well together. I know you didn't get it, but also, you know, when you talked about, you know, you bid for the soccer, and I know they like to rotate those things, but the way everybody's willing to step up and you know, share, you know, facilities if need be to be able to pull that kind of stuff off. They've got, you know, Bank of the Ozarks Arena there. You know, Garland County is very blessed, I think, with some really good, you know, school districts. Actually, you know, I say that, but even as we branch out, I mean, you being a Bismarck guy, I mean, academically solid there, just lots and lots of great schools that you know, I go to some of these meetings and I hear some of these stories, and it's almost hard for me to believe it's like we're going back in time. But I'm telling you, you know, I can't tell you how blessed we are with the schools in the co-op, and
for sure.
And but I think one of the biggest compliments a school can get, I think, is when folks want to come visit. You know, and y'all get lots of that. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, we really try to keep our doors open. You know, several years ago, I remember when it was Dawson. It was before you were there, and we would always have the summer institute, like at a business. And I know they were spending a lot of money. That's when Beth was there, and you know, we offered. We said, we've got probably a better facility than where we're going, and we can use that. So we really try to open, and I mean, you know, we always host that every summer. We love that. We love Rural Ed has been coming, you know, to Lakeside, and we do that. And then I think a lot of people just come, they see the campus, maybe they'll see something, learn about a program, and you know, come and I always like those days. It really does not put me out to have to go, you know, to go around, because I get to see kids, I get to see our staff, I get to see our program. I always learn from the people that are coming, so I love it when you know.
And you guys are great. You'll go visit, and you have. I mean, that's good. You and welcome people in. That's awesome.
Right. Always trying to, you know, we want to, you know, everybody wants to surround themselves with people who are looking for, you know, a way to do things better.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Also, we get ideas from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that
Yeah.
come visit, like having this conversation, so it's helping us. And
Definitely.
so
That's a great point.
Oh yeah. You know, when I was at Found Lake and we were looking at the conversion charter piece, you know, we went all over the country. I say that, you know, all over the region anyway, and that's really where I thought, you know, that idea was really successful for us. We went, you know, to all kinds of public schools. We had, you know, charter schools, and it really became apparent at that time to me that, you know, sharing in education's where it's at. I mean, it used to be kind of a competition thing, but I think people are finally on board with the fact that we're all doing the same thing for the same reason, and that's raising the next generation, you know, and it's so important that they all get a great education. You know, and I firmly believe every kid deserves a great education. Every kid can learn. And I mean, it's up to us to get that done, however we can get it done. And I appreciate what you guys do. And more than ever, this year, like I said, the teachers, I mean, have gone above and beyond. And I know it's been tough on them, but man, I've been just so proud of this, this profession. I'll say it that way, just to stand in the gap and be there for the kids when, they've taken shots. Administrators have taken shots. I mean, it's been a no-win situation with COVID going on most days. And
it's really now in a way, we're kind of frontline personnel. I mean,
Right.
Everybody's got through this pandemic. This way I explain it. Everybody's got their role.
Right.
The hospitals are playing their role. We have to help them out
Right.
In our ways, and that's why you'll see schools, trying to do some mitigation measures. Whether it's having to close or masking or whatever, because we're trying to be good neighbors to our hospitals and keep them going. That's another reason why we try to keep the doors open, so we give that staff a place they can send their kids so they can go to the hospitals and
Right.
take care. So it's truly one of those, it takes a community, and everybody's got to know we've all got to do our part to try to get through this and get to the other side. So, just like you said, with Hot Springs and Garland County, it's a great place to be. A lot of people who share that philosophy and mentality of like,
Right.
we got to come together if we're going to do this.
For sure. Yeah. And the thing is, I think the first time around, obviously, was a little rougher on folks because we didn't know what we were up against. But with this second wave, I think people have realized a couple of things. I mean, yes, it's still a serious, affliction or disease, whatever you want to call it. But secondly, the importance of, like we were talking about earlier, is the socialization piece. I mean, that's important. I mean, I think we tend to take that for granted a little bit with some of these kids, and all of us being on the back behind the scenes piece, and knowing that there are hundreds of kids every single day that come to school, and that's the only meal they're ever going to get. Those kinds of things, and I know. I can't think of a district in the co-op that didn't do it, but, loading up buses and taking foods to those homes, or, meeting at a church or something to make sure everybody was fed. And again, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm really proud of the districts and the job that they've done to make sure that, those families and kids that needed that stuff are continuing to get it.
Yep.
So. Well, now it's time for the fun part. I mean,
Let's say, are you going to not ask them the hard questions?
We just like to kind of kick it around. We like to talk, well, no, we just
Texas.
Well, yeah. Well, like, for instance, like, if we were to climb in your truck right now, what would we hear, on your playlist? What would be bumping right about now?
What would be bumping right about now? I'm trying to think, because I was trying to remember if my daughter changed the channel. Probably a little bit of Eric Church.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Listen to him.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a good answer for that. We were coming back from a ball game with my daughter, a junior, I guess Tuesday night, and we were trying to come up with a new song to make the school closure videos. Like you got to take a song, you got to be creative, because talking about bringing some fun into it, I was thinking, man, it's time for a new song. But and we first started talking about like what's new on the radio that the kids would know, and I'm talking about I feel so old. There is nothing that I connect with that's current.
Right. Yeah.
So we were listening to late '80s, early '90s R&B rap.
Oh man!
And
Gotcha.
Good choice. Good choice.
And a lot of the kids they love that music.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I know that everybody, again, it just makes me feel old when I start talking about this. But it's like everybody's like, man, our music was the best when we were there. And I really think that's a true statement.
Yeah.
I do too, for sure.
Agree.
So, Teddy Swims, y'all into him yet?
Teddy Swim.
Oh man, if there's a fire
Oh no, he's
in your kitchen, I'll play it for you when we're done. It is. Hey,
it's really good.
if you're into TikTok, it's all over TikTok.
I can't believe we
I'm
got you
telling
singing.
man, it's good.
We got you
Hey, I'm
singing.
telling you what, that boy, he gets me going. You know what I'm saying?
Do some doo-wop.
Hey, I'm telling you what. Yeah, Candace will get singing too. Don't you know? So that being said, best and worst experience maybe in your career. Let's just go with that, if you can.
They're like
Thus
on the
far,
spot.
I mean,
On
I know
the
the best
spot.
is
Yeah.
probably yet to come.
That's right.
I think we could agree probably the worst. We've all worked with Candace, right? So,
If y'all agree to that, you're never coming on the podcast again.
Oh my gosh.
Now you
That's
can say
a-
that's your best.
yeah, they're jumping all over. Hey,
Yeah,
look
at it, look at that.
Hey, look
They're
at
like,
Michael. He's even nodding his head.
Michael, you better be nice.
And that's a tough question.
That is a tough question, because even the bad times, most of them you can kind of laugh about now.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's probably cliche, but probably these last couple of years have been some of the best and the worst. It's a terrible situation, and so many. It seems like now so many decisions you make. It's like it's two bad options. Which one you want to go with?
Right.
I just thought, obviously the worst, the hardest times is probably when you lose a student.
Yeah.
Sure,
I was-
for
that's
sure.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I mean, gosh, that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just
The worst.
but being there for them, I guess, and every time I'm thinking right now of like the worst times, it's like, but it was also why you wanted to be in the profession, because you wanted to
Right.
be there for the kids. And
Right.
now, in the role I'm in now, I really want to be there for our staff, because if I can
Right.
keep our staff up through some of
Yeah.
this, we can keep
Yeah.
going. So, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with losing a student. We've.
Yep.
I mean, if you haven't gone through it, I mean, that's probably the worst
It's the
case
worst.
scenario that you have to deal with.
Yep.
And and I would have to agree with just getting through that and being there for the kids. That's some of our best memories, is being there and getting kids over humps like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one. Best Darin Beckwith stories.
Well,
Okay, I know y'all got
two
one.
things. There's
you.
not enough time,
Yeah.
and this
No.
this is like PG-14 rated. So
Yes.
I'll tell you one that really
One that he can tell.
one that I can tell. Which, let me tell you, those 2 years working with Beckwith was a lot in fun. I mean,
Yeah.
we laughed. Oh my gosh, we would laugh when the kids left the office. We laughed with them in there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like two big old kids, which
Right.
I'm still a big
Right.
old kid.
You got to have a little bit of that.
But I remember one time, Darin gets a kid, and we go. I think it was in my office, and he go, because we were always doing that. Like he would come and grab a kid and go. We'd be in the office, together. And so the kid sits down. He's in trouble about something, and Beckwith goes and he sits down, and the chair breaks, and just kicked him out, like just he just rolls
over, yeah.
rolls over in the floor, and that kid, he's already nervous because he's in there, and then he's, it's like, whoa, what just happened? And Darin jumps up and says, hey, it's all right, because he still kind of got his mean on. It's like, hey, it's all right. You laugh. That's funny. And the kid was like, ha, ha, ha. He didn't know really how to react to that. But
Hey, speaking of breaking chairs, now that you bring that up.
yeah,
Down goes Santa.
Come on, Santa Claus. Santa
hey.
Claus.
yeah,
man, that was rough.
yeah. We did get a traumatic picture of old Saint Nick.
Man. Yeah, man,
Santa got knocked out.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
Santa gonna knock you out.
I hit the back of that wall
Yeah.
Oh my.
with my head, and I'm telling you, I was laying there, and I can look up and I can see like Sean's dying laughing over there.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
And I can't get up.
Yeah.
There's no way I can get up. I just had to lay there until somebody came
Oh
and
my
and,
God.
Yeah.
and got me up.
The best is the picture of the kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
they thought Santa was dead. It's like you could make that an illustrated book. The day the kids thought Santa was gone.
I laugh every time I see it. I cannot quit laughing.
So I couldn't tell. There wasn't like a chalk tray or anything you whacked your head on, was it?
No, it was the cinder block.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I would add that Lakeside builds their schools very, very well. They're very solid.
Hey, I'm just glad Santa didn't get right up because Santa would have passed out again.
Oh, I'm just thankful Landry wasn't there.
I'd like to know who brought that chair in there. They probably rigged it up on you.
I'm just thankful for your PR person for snapping pictures.
Yeah. Good.
Document.
It's always nice to have good friends in a moment like that.
Exactly, in moments like that.
I had people real worried about my well-being.
Oh, yeah.
They were taking pictures.
Oh, yeah. So what about you?
Yeah. What
See, he doesn't have any good Beckwith
Oh, he
stories.
does. He just can't tell them all right now.
I can't tell him. Yeah, that's PG. I'll keep those under
Well, I
wraps.
can tell you one. We were traveling for a weekend one time.
Okay.
And we were traveling, and his wife had a baby and was talking, and she said, "Uh-oh," and he said,
She's
"Uh-oh,
pretty good
what?"
at this.
And she said, "I forgot my breast pump." and we were like, "What?" And so she said, "Yeah." And so anyway, she was like, "Well, I can't go in and get one." And so we stopped, and so here are the two of us.
He's got two different ones. I've
Yeah.
got two. We're reading on them.
Yeah.
Price check.
Yeah.
Price check.
And so this guy comes around the corner, and here's these two dudes looking at him,
With breast pumps in our hands.
and we're going, "So which one do you think?"
I said, "Do you think this one's better or this
Yeah.
one's better?"
Hey, brother man didn't even hesitate. He just planted his foot and spun around.
Hey, he got out of there.
Yeah, he got out of there quick. So,
What is it with this podcast? Breast milk. This
yeah.
is like,
Hey,
hey, you
that-
brought it up this time.
Hey, that is a true story.
Yeah, that's a true story. That's a true story. And then the
Was that pre-cell phone before you could get pictures?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Well, it may have been flip phone. No, it probably was.
Flip phone.
Yeah. So I remember one story too with Bruce and I. There was this one particular kid who will remain nameless, but he was quite a bit. He was a frequent flyer, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't want to talk to his dad because his dad was always on his side, got mad. I say always, probably about 75% of the time. But he would be irate. Now, sometimes when the kid would get in trouble, he would really get irate. So anyway, we're coming in, had a car, fancy tires and wheels. You know where this is going. Mm-hmm. And we're looking, and he drove in that morning. We saw him. And then at lunchtime, we come walking out, and we're like, oh, my gosh. We're like, somebody done jacked his car up, stole his tires and wheels, and put these old raggedy, just regular, old tires, and wasn't even no HUD caps on there. And I mean, we were in there looking. I'm not calling Dad. No, you're calling. So anyway, Bruce ends up calling the dad. Well, basically had him on speakerphone, and he just starts laughing, and we're going. He goes, "Man, that was me. I did that. He got in trouble over the weekend. I told him if he wasn't careful, I was gonna take those tires and wheels back." So during school, he come up there and jacked it up and took the tires and wheels up, and we were like, "Whoo!"
Thank heavens.
Yeah, exactly. Because we weren't looking forward to making that phone call at all. Woo, man, oh man.
Good times, huh?
Good times. Well, again, I do want to thank y'all for coming in, number one. And number two, I appreciate the heck out of what y'all do. You guys are great at what you do, number one. And, number two, just keep fighting the fight. It's, one of the biggest things, or hardest things probably, that you deal with is motivating, teachers during this time. Yeah. And so, I just applaud you for being able to do that day in and day out. You said something earlier about this too shall pass. And it was kind of funny you said that. I was talking to my mom and dad last night, and my mom was talking about this coach that they had in junior high school. Said he was rough and tough, and said, but back then she went to Hot Springs. Said, before you went to your classes, you had to go to homeroom. And said that she said, "I'll never will forget that guy." And she gave me the coach's name, but said he always started the day with a memory verse, And she said that was the one verse that was always stuck out was, "This too shall pass," and said, that as mean as that coach was, that he made an impression that to keep the right things in front of you, and said, even as mean as he was, he in his own little way, he said, you got to keep God in your life. You got to keep, you got to keep doing the right thing. And she said, you never would have thought that if you didn't have that guy, doing what he did first thing in the morning. So keep doing what you're doing, and know this too shall pass. I guess that's, that's the key thing. But again,
yeah, you guys do an awesome job. I'm miss the heck out of working with y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, now.
Yeah.
Look where I'm stuck with. On a daily basis,
Exactly. So, but yeah, we do appreciate it, and what I will tell you, anytime y'all want to come back and pick on Candace, I'd love to have you.
Open invitation.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah. Working up here is not a whole lot unlike living in the Landry house. I mean, I'm one dude with a whole lot of ladies,
Man.
So,
That's true.
yeah. So anyway, well, we appreciate it, and that's going to do it for this episode of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.